She isn't there. Oh, that is her.
Okay.
In the white, beside. Very good.
If I'm in town, you know how I move around the world.
Yes,
when I'm
you do.
here, I'll
Okay.
be back up to back up.
All right. We'll keep you in mind.
Yeah. Put it down.
We're trying to get our money approved by the cameras.
Yeah. Well, if we have to buy something, buy it now first.
We can come to order, please. 12:30, time to begin our meeting. Welcome, everyone. We've got a real good program for us today, as well as some additional business to take care of, so let's get started. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to introduce to you Liz Miller-Galvan. She is from Another Seasons Landscaping Company. The seeds of appreciating horticulture were planted at an early age, but Liz's career path had a different direction for many years. What began as a culinary career in private kitchens, why didn't you come to mine? Shifted to a contract dining corporate career that was more suitable for raising a family. It was in her free time that was spent creating gardens for family and friends, where her love of gardening and design grew roots. Through trial and error and a healthy amount of advice from her landscape architect neighbor, her skills grew. While living in California, Liz came to recognize a genuine love for horticulture and garden design. It was a love that had always been there, but that had been given second billing to life. With her own 5 acres to landscape, Liz spent most of her spare time planting and growing beautiful succulent beds to surround her family's home, along with a vegetable garden, a small fruit orchard, and an olive grove that supported a local olive oil producer. In 2024, Liz's husband, Brian, decided to expand his fiberglass pool business into Arkansas, and Liz saw the chance to return home and pursue her love of gardens. The opportunity to purchase Another Season arose, and with the support and encouragement of her friends and family, Liz took the plunge. Liz left her corporate lifestyle and began the journey of revitalizing a popular and important family business deeply rooted within the Benton community. Another Season is a substantial garden center that offers a wide and unique variety of shrubs, roses, ornamental trees, fruits, nut trees, perennials, and annuals. With many customers requesting assistance with their landscaping projects, Liz was happy to help. What began as quietly offered support to customers quickly blossomed into increasingly busy operating component of the business. Up for the challenge, Liz successfully pursued her landscape contractor's license and her Arkansas Certified Nursery and Landscape Professional certification from the Arkansas Green Industry Association. Another Season officially introduced their landscaping services offer in 2026, citing a turnkey, individualized approach to their services. Liz? Welcome.
Well, thank you. You all are very kind. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm not great at like holding mics and doing a bunch of stuff at once. Well, that's not true. I like to multitask, but I don't know that I would be considered what you would call an industry expert. But I will share with you what I've learned. And I've been graced and blessed with a lot of people in the industry who've given me a lot of information and a lot of tools to do landscaping and landscape design. So today, what I want to talk to you about is why landscape matters. We're going to go through the core principles of good landscape design. We're going to talk about vision, concept, and how to execute that. And then at the end, we'll just have some open discussion for you, if that works for everybody. So I want to start by talking about why landscape design matters. So whether we realize it or not, landscape design shapes our everyday life. And if you think about what I'm saying, I think you can only agree that if you go downtown or to just think of any shopping center that you go to, what draws you in, right? It's going to be the exterior and how that looks and how it feels to you. So good landscape design will draw us in, whereas if you drive up to something that's kind of a hot mess, it's not really something you're wanting to go into. At least that's how I feel. Good landscape design also protects buildings and infrastructure by managing stormwater, preventing soil erosion, and provides some natural climate control. So think about, I know you've seen it. All of us have driven through Texas, right? And you see those houses that are sitting out in that hot sun, or even you and I know, Jesse, right? California, where there are absolutely no trees, or it's just a palm tree or two. But those big old canopy trees really help us save on energy costs. So it's really important to incorporate good landscape design in our own homes and yards. Strategic plant placement and proper grading can stabilize foundations and provide structural protection against wind and heat. Supports health. You're probably going, how, right? Well, I mean, obviously we know that plants give off oxygen. But even more so than that, I'll tell you a little bit anecdotally. We moved here and it was just hit the ground running. And we bought a beautiful home out in Scott on the lake. It's a different setup than what I had, where all of my husband's business stuff went to the back of the house, and I didn't have to look at it. I built a big old berm, I put a bunch of plants on it, it was beautiful, that was my view. That's not the case anymore. And I drive down this beautiful pear-lined driveway, and it's very long, it's a 5-acre property with my house all the way in the back, and I drive down this beautiful driveway, and then all of a sudden I see all his stuff right there, and it makes me crazy. This is why it's important. Every time I come home, I get frustrated about it. And if I was driving home to a beautiful landscape, what am I going to feel when I get home? I'm home. I'm relaxed. This is my space. I feel great about being here, as opposed to being stressed out because I've got pool tubing all over and, machinery. So, street presence is the last reason I think it's important. Street presence can get you a higher dollar. If you're selling your home, it's important to have that exterior landscape well cleaned up so that you have that positive street presence. That's what's going to drive your price up. It's going to drive your offers up. You're going to get more out of your home. All right, so let's talk about the core principles of design. First one that I'm going to talk about is line. It is the foundational element of design. It's basically your starting point. So I like to step back and take a look at a lot, for example, and go, well, is it square? Is it rectangular? Does it have curvature to it? I'm working on a project now where it's a tight rectangular lot, and on the front we've got these nice curves. It's a corner lot, so you've got a curved street. Really, really nice to incorporate some curved paths going through that space. So that's really your starting point, is what's the line? It defines the structure, the movement, and the overall feel of an outdoor space. And combinations of circular and straight lines can be used, but it requires a little more thought and strategy to make sure you get it right and you don't look goofy with it, right? I like to get out with, and I'm sure a lot of folks will do this as well, I like to get out with the spray paint that you can paint downward and paint those lines out and look at it. Or maybe if you don't want to do that and just want to grab a hose and kind of line out a bed or something to that effect, or a path or whatever it is. You can do that, and it'll give you an idea of what you're looking for. And it's a real good practice to do that, because then you see, sometimes you go, well, it looked so good in my mind's eye, it was awesome. And then you put it in and you're like, it's not necessarily what I wanted it to be. So it's really good to kind of practice those kinds of things, well, like with a water hose or with spray paint on the grass. Second design principle is going to be form. And this refers to the three-dimensional shapes, structures, and outlines that organize the space and define the style of the garden. So geometric form typically forms a more formal garden, whereas naturalistic forms tend to construct a more informal space, right? So form is typically the most dominant visual element. So say, for example, if I've got a wooden arbor that I want to incorporate. Let's just say my friend gave me one, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to put that into my garden. I might lean into, if that's my starting point, like that, I want to design something around that, I'm going to lean into a more natural rustic feel, right? Whereas if somebody gives me a 4-tier concrete fountain, we're probably looking at a more formal design to, create that more formal feeling space. And you can think about plants in the same way. Are they easily controlled? Do they grow in a specific shape? Are they pyramidal or rounded, like a Mr. Bowling Ball or an Anna's Magic, arborvitae? What's the shape? What's the form of that? Abelia is a great example of a plant that you don't want to trim up, right? Because it looks better in its natural kind of, wispy shape, if you will, or kind of crazy little shape. You start trimming it up and they don't look great anymore. So that's not a plant that you would want to incorporate, for example, into a formal garden. It's too wild and woolly for that. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right, texture. So texture refers to how coarse, fine, soft, sharp the plant and hardscape materials look and feel. It dictates the visual and tactile feel of an outdoor space. So for variety, interest, and contrast, you're going to want to use many different textures. So think about it this way. If I put nothing but broadleaf, deciduous plants in my garden, is that going to be very interesting and fun? What's that going to look like come wintertime, right? It's not going to be very pretty, is it? Same principle applies to hardscape. If you look up here, I love this design up here on the left, where we've got nice, I wouldn't say soft, I would say smooth stones for the steps, and then you've got these more roughed up boulders thrown in for more interest. So that's how you want to kind of look at it. It's using a variety of textures to bring a space together. And then color. Color's huge, right? Provides variety and interest. Now, there's one color that is dominant in all gardens. Anybody want to guess what it is? Green. Bingo. And I am one of those people that, believe it or not, I used to love just green gardens. And that's okay, right? Like, just green gardens are awesome. But if you're going to do that, use a variety of greens. Use some lime. Lime greens, bring those in, some variegation in your plants. Bring that in to add interest and variety. If you're going to put, like, let's just say we're putting in a shade garden like we've got over here on the left. You've got these beautiful hostas. Maybe throw in, instead of tassel ferns, we're going to use Japanese painted ferns. It's all about just adding some variety and some interest. And if you don't know, go to your local nursery and look at stuff and talk to, the staff or the owner and get some information about, hey, this is what I'm thinking, like, give me some guidance on this. Most nursery, certainly our nursery we'll sit down with you and kind of talk through your project and help you as best we can. So hopefully that's happening for you here as well. All right, hierarchy. So hierarchy is the visual order that guides the eye. So it's going to emphasize the key features, such as a pathway, an entrance, a structure, a fountain. So applying the hierarchy creates a cohesive, functional landscape that tells a story, leads users through the journey of ensuring important features are highlighted over filler elements. So hierarchy is what's kind of the dominant feature of my garden. And you can see, like in this, for example, I love these steps. I would almost say that is, but it's really just this entrance up into the back patio there. So that is probably the most important element in that whole design, and then we design around that. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. Proportion, design principle number 6. Proportion is the core principle that creates harmony and structural unity between elements. So Key elements include spatial relationships, such as scale and proportion, visual connections, such as axial lines, and functional harmony, so environmental fit. Proportion uses absolute scale. So in other words, you think about proportion specifically in landscape design, it's to human scale, right? So you want to think about like how it is in relation to me as a person. This is like kind of short, for example, but you know, you think about proportion in relationship to human scale. And you design a garden, you can see these drawings here. These are big projects that you know, require a lot of thought and effort to kind of get it right because there's so much going on in there. So depending on what you're working on, you've got to consider the proportion of the garden. Home gardens, maybe not so much, but it is an important design principle in professional gardening or design. All right, order. So order is the organization of the design. It's most often achieved through balance. It's the intentional arrangement of plants and hardscape that's determined by size, form, and texture. Order balance is the concept of equal visual attraction and weight, usually around an axis, whether real or imaginary. So if you look at these two pictures here, on the left you kind of see an imaginary axis, and on the right you see that real one. It's right there. Both are really cool designs, in my opinion. They are not my designs, but they're both very awesome. They're just different. Order ties right into our next design principle, repetition. So repetition's a big one for me. It's a deliberate recurring use of similar plants, materials, shapes, colors, and it all creates unity, rhythm, and structural cohesion. You have to be careful because the overuse of repetition can create monotony, whereas the underuse can create confusion. Typically what you'll see in professional landscaping is a grouping of one specific plant. But take a look at how, and it's usually like together, right? So you've got like, let's just say 3 compact hollies or 5, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I kind of like the way this is designed where we've got that repetition, but they're spaced. So it's kind of interesting and different. So you gotta play with it a little bit. It doesn't have to be like all together, but it needs to make sense. To me, when I look at this, it's definitely, it's together, but it's spaced, and it still makes sense, right? I do have one hard, it doesn't make sense to you. Okay. You know what? I mean, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? Like, I understand. But for me, and it's so different and out there from what I would normally do, but I thought it was really, really cool when I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's neat use of the space and the plants. I will tell you one hard rule that I have. That's not my phone, right? No. Okay. My kid is calling, but it did not ring. One hard rule that I do have is I like to work in odd numbers. That goes all the way back to when I went to culinary school. 100 years ago, everything was odd. And you know, it was hard to explain or articulate the why behind that. And now, the even numbers, I don't know how to necessarily articulate why they don't always work. They don't, in my opinion. They often look kind of, well, out of place, right? If I have 2 of something versus 3, 3 just makes more sense to me, okay? It's just, I don't know. Ma'am?
You're speaking my language.
Awesome. Good. At least I'm speaking your language. That's awesome. All right. Design principle number 9 is unity. So it's often described as the glue that kind of holds the whole design together. Unity ensures that all the individual elements work together to create a harmonious look and feel. And ultimately, that's the goal of all landscape design, is the harmonious look and feel that I love. That's all that's what we're shooting for. Landscape with unity, it creates a calming sense of order and connection. So again, if you go back to earlier, my presentation when I talked about health, specifically mental health. If you have an intentional design that is well thought out, and you've got that calming sense of order and that connection going on in your garden, every time you drive up, you're gonna feel like, this is amazing. You're never gonna hate it, right? And if you do start to hate it, well, all right, let's change it up a little bit, right? Let's throw in something different that gives me a different color or a different texture or, you know, something that's happening in the off season that changes the whole thing. So how is unity achieved? First things first, establish your style or your theme. What's your style, right? You gotta ask yourself, like, what am I going for? If you're starting with a blank slate, even if you're kind of redesigning some old spaces, what's the goal? What's your end goal? What feels good to you? Number 2, repeating elements such as color, form, texture, and materials. Number 3, interconnection of the spaces. Number 4, proportion and scale. And number 5, and probably the most important, simplicity. Avoid visual clutter. Be very intentional with your design. Okay? If you have to, and I'll be the first to own it, I am not a sketch artist. I can draw stick figures, and that's about it. So I envy these professionals that walk out to the field and they go, yeah, I can see this and this and this, and they put this beautiful, like, hand-drawn sketch up, and you just can visualize it. Well, you don't necessarily need that. You can, I mean, there are a lot of tools out there now that I don't necessarily use, like a lot of people will talk about that a little bit. Use AI. Don't really recommend it, and I'll tell you exactly why. I had a customer who I was working for. I was doing a design on his front yard. And he comes in and he hands me, slides this printout of a photograph across the table. And he goes, this is what I did in AI. And I'm like, well, that's great, it just won't work. Well, why not? Well, because it has ferns in it, and we're designing in the full sun. So AI is not all intelligent, right? It's just not. And so I really steer away from it. Now, I may be kind of that misnomer. I just don't use it. I think that our best ideas are still within us, and we just have to get those out and learn how to articulate them into a space or onto paper or into a presentation, whatever it is. I really feel like it's within us. All right. Core principle design number 10. I believe we're on 10, right? Enjoyment. Create what you want to create the space you want to be in. The whole idea is to set it up so that it's for you and you're enjoying it, you and your family, and it's appropriate for you and your family. So let's just say you've got kids or grandkids. You're going to want to create spaces that are conducive to them being outside and playing, but you can still have your little space where you can go and have coffee maybe. You know, maybe it's just as simple as a bistro table out back and you've got a little space back there that you've decorated with some plants, even if it's potted plants, you know. But enjoy whatever you do, make it so that you enjoy it, right? That is the most important element. Create it, yeah, functional, and definitely this is probably the most important thing. Always, always, always think about these two things. Well, there's more things to think about, but you want to think about exposure, right? What kind of stuff am I planting where, right? You cannot use, you know, shade plants in full sun. Y'all are master gardeners, you know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But you always want to think about irrigation. It gets hot here, right? And I don't know about you, but I don't love being out in 102-degree humidity, right? In the middle of July and August, watering and doing all that. Plus the water bills and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to make sure you're considering irrigation. Is, you know, are we going to put it in? Is it something that we're going to control remotely? What are we doing? You know, call an irrigation professional if you need help. But it's so important. I can't stress it enough. And then last, maintenance. Who's going to take care of it when it's done? And you need to think about, you really need to deep dive that a little bit and go, how much time do I really want to spend out there? So I have a real bad habit for creating gardens at home that don't necessarily match the amount of time that I can dedicate, right? And so they end up looking a little scraggly sometimes. I mean, I remember, In the fall, after all my echinacea kind of said goodbye for the winter, driving past like dead, coneflowers for weeks before I finally just said, I'm gonna stop the car, get the clippers out of the back, and I'm gonna, take care of this right now, because if I don't, it's never gonna get done. Think about how much time you want to commit to your space and be intentional with the plants that you select, putting in your space so that it matches, right? If you, for example, roses can be a little high maintenance. Some of them can, right? If you're not willing to get out there and deadhead and, keep them cleaned up and all that, trimmed back, and they're all manage them, so to speak, they're probably not going to look great, and you're probably not going to be very happy with them. And that happens a lot more often than you'd probably guess. So that's a really important element. So, all right, how do we get there? All right? So imagine it. Start here. Like, just what do you feel? What do you like? What's your vibe? What's your style? Go get inspired. Go out. I love to look on Pinterest sometimes. I do and I don't. I like it, but then I go down the rabbit hole and I'm there for 6 days, and so. But you got to ask yourself, what's the vibe I'm trying to create here? Is it is it a Japanese garden? It's a very serene. It's a very quiet. It's a very thoughtful place of prayer and meditation, for example. What's the vibe you're trying to create? I want an English cottage garden. I want, a desert garden. What's possible here in Arkansas. So you may start, some people do this, you may start with a specific plant. You may say, well, you know what? I love Peggy Martin roses. And so I go out and I find this picture, right? Well, okay, that's a lot. I don't know about you, but I'm looking at that and I'm going, maybe not. I love them, they're beautiful, so maybe I could do something like that. Maybe I've got a smaller space and I can get creative on an area in my back, put a bubbler in there, and I've got these beautiful roses climbing off of there. So maybe it's that, maybe it's just something as simple as this, Find ways to incorporate it, and incorporate it well, and don't try to go crazy with it, right? Because that's often how we get frustrated and all of that. So, and then it sometimes just never translated, our vision never gets translated to the soil because of that. So keep it real. All right. Organize it, conceptualize it, study the shapes and the forms to determine what will and won't work together. I like to start with like anchor plants, for example. I think about what are my anchor plants, and those are pretty much going to be the things that are going to stay green year-round. I use those as my anchors, and then I kind of work around them. Those and canopy trees. We'll get a little more into that in a second. You've got to, I'll say it again, you've got to take into consideration your existing conditions, amount of sun exposure. What's the health of your soil? Are you testing your soil? Are you looking at what's in the ground? And, is it going to be great for these plants? Is it going to be too acidic? Is it not enough? You should know, you do a little test on your soil before you embark on these big projects, because chances are you're going to spend a lot of money doing landscaping, period. I mean, it's costly, even if you're doing it all yourself. If you're not paying me to come in and design it or someone else, you really run you into a lot of money. So you want to make sure that what you're doing, what you're buying, is going to work in your soil, in your space. You don't want to put ferns in full sun, for example. And then just the functionality of the elements. A big one, I see a lot of folks plant big trees up against the house. You see it too, Jesse, right? All the time, and I'm not even joking. So. An emerald arborvitae. So I have a neighbor who planted emerald arborvitae all along the front. It kind of looks, it was intentional. I'm not sure what the intent was, but it was there, and they got so big that it was growing up into the eaves, and instead of blowing through the eave there or whatever, it started growing sideways. So you've got like 3 of these emerald arborvitae, so you got one down here going along the roof line. So make sure that what you're planting is going to work. Is it going to be, in 10 years, if it's going to be 20 feet wide, keep it away from the house, you gotta move it out. And that's where that line and that form comes in, because you think about how can I make that cohesive and make it gel, but by pulling it away, but still having it say at the corner of the house where I want it. Does that make sense? Kind of, sort of? Okay, all right. Next thing is plant and layers for intentionality, and y'all know this, right? So I kind of put it in a hierarchy here, with the first layer being our canopy trees. That's your top layer, it's your shade structure. Then you've got your understory trees, which are your smaller, more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Short.
Ma'am?
Short. Compact.
No, you're good. For whatever reason, I can't think of the name that I'm looking for, but it's your smaller stuff that is not going to be your big old shade trees, but it's going to create an impact nonetheless. One of my favorites is a Japanese maple, like a crimson queen. Love those. They're beautiful. So anytime I get a chance, I'm trying to figure out where can I put that in. I love it. Or Vitex, for example. Smaller. It's a shrub, smaller, more compact, but it works. Shrubs would be next. And then your perennials and your ornamental grasses come next. And then finally your ground cover and then your features, right? Your features are last, even though it's funny because earlier I said that may be where you start, but it may not be exactly where you don't necessarily plant around it, but you think about how that's going to be incorporated into your garden. It's really the last thought, unless you are sitting on something that you're just like, you know what? I really want this in there. I really have to have, I don't know, maybe you've got a koi pond that you're trying to design around or something to that effect. That would be a different story. Otherwise, those are the kind of the last things you want to think about as putting in. All right, execution. So we've talked about the components that we need to consider for a great design. And when it comes to do it, where do we even start? Detail it. Sit down, piece of paper, doesn't take much. You just really got to get those thoughts out. And this is just for you. You don't have to share them with any professionals or anything like that. This is you. So put down what you're thinking. It's okay. And then maybe do some research around that. Make sure that what you're thinking is going to work. You want to make sure that is the #1 priority, because if it's not, you're going to be very frustrated. Number 2, know your budget and create within your budget. You can also use phasing to accomplish a design that requires a bigger budget. So maybe it's, well, this year I can do phase 1. Next year, phase 2 is going to, entail this, that, or the other, and that's when I can do that. Or maybe it's 2 years, or 3, or 5, or whatever. Don't forget about the constraints. Know the constraints of your design. Is there an HOA or a POA? You better get approval. Number 2, utilities, overhead, underground. Always want to make sure we're checking in with what is it, 811. Anytime we do any kind of digging, we have to call them, get that marked. You want to make sure you're doing that, because the last thing you want to do is disrupt your internet service or your water lines, whatever it is. And then have a contingency plan. That's not a bad, sometimes it just doesn't work out, right? It's okay, it's not the end of the world, but be ready to kind of punt and be a little flexible. If you're very hard and adamant that it's got to be a specific way, there's more room for a lot of disappointment. Contingency plans are kind of nice because it's like, well, it wasn't exactly what I thought of at first, but I ended up liking it. It's all right. So I always say, think about what can be done in the instance that your initial plan doesn't necessarily work. Maybe it's, well, and I'm the queen of it, right? I've got champagne taste, and my budget's about not even a Coors Light, right? So, in that case, that's where you're gonna have to come up with some contingency plans or some phasing or something to that effect. So, that's really about what I know. Or what I've learned along the way in landscape design. And so with that, I appreciate it. Do y'all have any questions or discussion that we can get into? Yes, ma'am.
What about if a house that exactly faces north, south, east, and west? So you've got a north side that gets a lot of shade, except when it's the hottest time of the year? What do you do?
Well, I mean, it depends, you know what, I'll tell you, what I do, it depends. I mean, I have to go and look at the spaces myself to decide what to do, but it may be an instance where you need more canopy shade so that you can create a more consistent level of brightness. Does that make sense? You may need more canopy trees in there, or more resilient plants that can take, you know, maybe 6 hours of sun. And I understand what you're saying. It's interesting. So running a nursery, I see it all the time where somebody will go, well, that's a shade plant. Well, not necessarily so in 100% of the time. Some plant, I don't know, I think plants are like people. They all have their little personality, and you get those little guys that are kind of like, not me, man, I'm gonna do my own thing. I don't know, but, you know, or a full sun plant, and it just doesn't do well. And you have to provide it more shade. So you have to think about like what will work in terms of your space. And can you put more canopy trees in to create that consistent level of brightness, you know? Does that make sense? Because every house has a north, south, east, and west, right? So it's how do I work with what I've got, like where that is facing exactly, you know? Yes, ma'am.
What's the address of your nursery?
Thank you. It's 500 Alcoa Boulevard, and it's in Benton. All right. Anybody else? I do. Yes, sir?
Back here.
Yes, no, I see you. Well, no, I'm,
You said this, sir. Okay. I have 70 acres of condos.
of what?
Condos. We have consistent guidelines.
Yeah.
And we get plants, and my question is, with, for instance, crepe myrtles or azalea, how do you choose which colors to go when basically they say, okay, put a crepe myrtle, and we've got pink ones, we've got light pink ones, we've got white ones, we've got fuchsia ones, we've got, you know, the same thing with azaleas. They're all different. Is there a rule to keeping a consistent color palette, or is it just go with it because they all look good?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, right? I don't know if there's a hard rule written somewhere that tells me this is what I'm supposed to do, but just when I think about colors, the full spectrum of the rainbow is great. But if I go back to, I like things grouped, so if I'm gonna put in, you know, a dark pink, I'm gonna probably want that to kind of be together, and then if I'm moving on to like a yellow, for example, that's gonna be in a different form, different plant form, it's gonna be over here. If I'm doing, you know, for something that sounds like a commercial design, and so for a commercial design, I would kind of see it as more symbiotic in that it's all the same, right? Like all the crepe myrtles are gonna be this color, right? To me, so first of all, it's subjective, right? It's all about opinion. Mine is simply what I like, and I would not like to see like pink, a lavender, a white, you know, a red. It just would be weird for me. I would say, okay, if it's this plant, I want it to all be in this color, especially in a commercial type design like that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that.
Thank you.
Here's Bonnie. She's a good one.
It's John, Karen, Malone, Liz Miller. Oh, she just left. Okay. Linda. Yeah, Linda. Robin Waters. Bob Thompson. And Brenda. Yes. We would just want to welcome each and every one of you for showing up here today. And I just want to say that we're delighted to have you here because you could have been spending your time someplace else, but you came to see about Master Gardeners. That's a good thing. Okay, so I want to talk about our hours earned. So right now, our sanctioned hours, we have produced 1,598 hours. Our non-sanctioned hours is 78 hours. And our education hours is 484 hours. So this is really good. Keep up that good work. Okay, so, second page here. So on Monday night, Lynn Johnson sent out a link to sign up for Constant Contact in the emails. So it's for the state Constant Contact. Today, I've asked most of the members here if they would, there's a side table here on the side with your names on the list. Would you please just go to that list, look up your name, see if everything is correct on that list for your name, check it. If you are not a part of the Constant Contact or the information is incorrect, you check your name. If you have everything correct, just sign your name. It's okay. We got you. Okay, is that understood? Okay, thank you. Okay, question, yes? That's true. I put an extra list out there with no names so you can fill it in. Thank you for that. Okay, so this helps with if you're not receiving the Constant Contacts from the state, it helps us to get this information like the Master Gardeners Appreciation Day, Master Gardeners Monday, every third Monday, there's a Zoom meeting. So if you're not getting them, you're missing information, and I want you to have that information. Okay, so the state conference registration opened two days ago, so you can sign up for that. And for Sunshine, our Sunshine, if you know of anyone that's having medical issues or a death in the family, or need a hug from me or Walter, please let us know. That's very, very important, you know, because we really want to support our Master Gardeners. Okay, I think I am done except for one last thing. And I have a drawing here for 3 tabletop wonderful Master Gardeners books that you can read. It's for education. So next month we have a surprise for education, hopefully. Okay, here we go.
Bingo.
Okay, the number is 216-13156.
Bingo.
Bingo! Yay! Bingo! You can come up and receive your gift. Thank you.
Oh, not you. I mean,
No.
congratulations.
Okay, here you
Don.
go. It was yours. I really took yours when you weren't
Yeah,
looking.
congratulations, Don.
Yay! Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
There you go. Thank you.
One other thing about the lists over there that Annette referred to.
Quit shaming
Some of you
me.
have said that you are not getting Garland County Constant Contact, so for us to send out a Constant Contact to tell you to let us know doesn't help you. So we're going to use this information also to double check against what we currently have. So for those of you who have said you're not getting the information, please put your information there so we can help resolve the situation. Thanks.
Question? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Annette.
You mentioned that everybody is putting all these lovely numbers for numbers. Remember we talked about a possible new award for people who put in education hours? We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. In the weekend committee, we always make a fuss about work hours. We also think it would be good to let you know that education is important and we value education. And we have decided we want to give you a tree of learning, not just a shovel for working, but a tree of learning for 100 hours or more. So how we guys on learning is new classes. You write that down in your hours, so the year is up and it's 100 or more. If the executive committee agrees.
I was about to say, if the executive meeting decides.
It's only education hours?
Yes, only education hours.
Okay, next up then, our past president, Tricia Freeman.
Hi there. On January 22nd, we had an orientation for our first-year Master Gardeners. And the project chairs came up and showed PowerPoints of their committees. And it was a rousing success. The first-year Master Gardeners really appreciated it. And then some of our own people were going, I didn't realize we had, so much stuff going on. And it makes a huge difference. Before we used storyboards, and that was quite lovely, but these are huge pictures of the plants, of the people. It makes such a difference. So this year, please take pictures, because they're going to do this again next year. So start taking your pictures, and if you can't do a PowerPoint, we've got people who can. I can do a basic one, but then you saw some PowerPoints where they were all decorated, they had words and way beyond my abilities, but I did get pictures up. So
Mine, I don't think.
please take pictures.
All right, next up would be our county agent, who is at the training class today, so we don't get a report from him. Unfinished business, our Coleus Fund. Jennifer and her team have been working really hard to identify some areas where we might contribute our Coleus Fund. We've hit a little bit of a bump in the road with them, so she's not quite ready to report on that today, so we'll get that for next month. All right, new business. Our first up is new horticulture opportunities at Garvin, and Karen Malone is going to talk just a little bit about that. Oh, what's going on? Searching.
It's definitely not at Garden Gardens.
It's not showing.
Well, while she's trying to figure that out, and hopefully we will get it up, I'll begin, because I'm on a short leash here, according to Sean. I don't want to take a whole lot of time anyway, because I know how these meetings go. My name is Karen Malone. I know many of you. I see lots of very familiar faces out there. I used to just introduce myself as the horticulture manager at Garvin Woodland Gardens, but my position has changed, and the official title is volunteer horticulture manager. Although I'm straddling a lot of different departments at the moment. There's been a lot of changes at Garvin, so this, I'm going to just kind of give y'all a rundown. Some of y'all are more familiar what's going on out there than not, but there are some exciting changes. Bob Bledsoe, who was executive director of the garden, retired about 2 years ago this month, in February, 2 years ago. Becca Oman, who many people have known, has been at the garden over a decade. She is now the executive director. She was, garden director was her title when Bob was there. Now she's truly an executive director and doing the executive business. Erin Wright is now our garden director. And Erin has been with the garden off and on for about 15 years. He was an employee there. He left to start his own landscaping business. He has a background in gardening from the Royal Horticultural Society of England. And I don't know if any guys know about that, but that is top stuff. Have you guys ever heard Rushing-Felder speak? I heard him tell a story one time when I heard him speak about trying to get into the Royal Horticultural Society. He tried for decades, and they would not accept him. And that tells you a lot. So if you know about Rush and how smart he is and what a great gardener he is himself. So, but even with that, Erin's a great instructor, very approachable, and just loves gardening in general and garden itself. So lots of decisions are being made, a lot of things have changed and things are moving. He took his position in July. So one of the first things he did was look at the garden where most of our time was spent, energy was spent. Could we do it better? Can we reorganize? And I'll have to say, Becca had pitched this to me several times, like, you'd be really good with volunteers. And I'm like, I already work with the volunteers. What do you mean? You should be a volunteer instructor. And I thought, well, is Susan retiring? Because she heads all the Welcome Center and I guess visitor services, volunteer services. So finally, when Erin took his position, they came to me and said, we really need to improve our volunteer services, and we'd like for you to do that. So it's kind of, I'm totally out of the day-to-day of the horticulture, but I'm now over the volunteers. So just kind of a real quick rundown of some things that are going on in the garden since Erin started. A lot of physical things. There's an ADA trail being built to the bonsai hut. We have cleared out Woodland Walk from the upper Woodland Walk down to the lake. And if you've not been out there and taken a walk, you can see the lake. All the understory has been cleared out, and part of that is a preparation for an art exhibit that's coming this spring, which I'll talk about in a minute. There's a moon garden out there, which most of you probably know, past the wall, but we discovered there's a whole flagstone patio out there we did not know about. And we're getting ready to do some plantings out there. The wildflower meadow has gotten a beautiful new boulder pathway out there. We're getting ready to do a controlled burn this spring, and we'll plant wildflower seeds, and we're moving towards truly making that a wildflower meadow. The flowering border is getting more, we're going to put some linear structures in there for visual interest, getting more formal plant palette added to it. The magnolia room is getting a refresh that's supposed to be done by the end of this month, crossing fingers. The Whipple Center, which is the education center or pavilion, is in the process of getting bids right now. So that probably will start up within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So lots going on out there. There's an art exhibit coming this spring. I think the week of April the 20th onward, they're going to be installing that. And it's an art group called Poetic Kinetics. And it's a thing that they hang in the trees and the canopies, and their flags that blow in the wind. And it's all going to coincide with Arts in the Park here. The guy that's the artist that puts this all together, he's going to be the feature artist for Arts in the Park. It's really a big deal, and I can't wait for it to arrive. All right, so now to some of the fun things that are going on with our volunteers. So many of you guys already volunteer out at the garden, but we're trying to beef that up. And I will say last Tuesday when the gyms were out, Erin was showing us how to do all sorts of pruning, different varieties of shrubs. I mean, everything from crepe myrtles to abelias, which we talked about earlier, those wild and woolly things, gardenias, roses. And he, like I said, very informative, very approachable. We're trying to educate our volunteers now. We're really focusing on you understanding what the garden is about, the spaces. Some are more formal than others. How do you prune in these different spaces? And really give you that sort of information. Last Tuesday, Wayne Lynch made a comment to me, and I thought that is so true. He came up to me and said, you know, we travel all over the world, or all over the United States. We're going to try to set up one on a Saturday, and the reason I want to do some on Saturdays is catch those people who can't come to these meetings, who are work during the week, but they may want to participate. Each month, we'll cover a task that is appropriate for gardenias during that month. You'll come out, we'll show you how to do it. Then it will probably take us, depending on how many people sign up, it might take us 3 or 4 sessions to get through all of the gardenias, camellias in the garden. I get those mixed up a lot, y'all, sorry. Get through all the camellias in the garden. Then the next month, there'll be another task we'll do. Next month, another task. Some tasks are repetitive for a few months, right? Some, but by the end of the year, I hope to have given you handouts of how to take care of your camellias on a month-by-month basis. You'll have a binder for yourself that you can use at home as well as in the garden. We're just really trying to empower people with knowledge and education. Really getting back to that basic. Do you wanted to, I hear you say read that. Do you not read that as too small?
This is the website from Garden.
Yes, you just go to Garvin Gardens, and there'll be a little tab at the top for volunteers, and then there's all sorts of volunteer opportunities. Now I won't go through all of those, I'm running out of time. The other thing is with education department, Rush is working on getting more docents in the garden. I think in the past it's always been you learn the whole garden and you take people on walks on a Saturday. We just figured that's just almost unrealistic for most people. So if you want to become a docent of one area of the garden and be willing to share that information,
I like that.
you can do that. And he's got them broken down to like maybe the entry plaza, welcome center, the history of the train garden, the great lawn, power of the fly, excuse me, Garden of the Pine Wind, and Southern Inspiration Garden, which would just be one small area of the garden. Then another one might be the pavilion, the sensory garden, Woodland Walk, Falling Leaves Plaza, the Wildflower Meadow. So each of those areas, there's training on. You can find that on the choices there. Those are just the trainings for them. You could pick out one or some or all or however you would like to do that. But just trying to let you guys know there's a lot more opportunities at the garden than there used to be. And if you even have a suggestion of, hey, I'd like to learn about this, or I'd be willing to do that, you might have a thing for daylilies or, you know, hostas or whatever. If that's your thing and you want to do a little more with it, we are open to ideas. All right? I think that's it. Probably more than and you go to the horticulture, volunteer horticulture tab. You'll see these little tools, which are not horticulture tools, but that's the best we can do. The program we had.
Thank you, Karen. All right, Elaine, you're up next for the March luncheon.
We have the March luncheon. How does this one work? We have already planned and got everything pretty well organized for the March luncheon. We're not doing a special luncheon this year. The cost is just too prohibitive. So we're eating off the Elks menu. We're feeding the new master gardeners off the Elks menu. But we are buying a cake, so we are going to have a little bit, and we have gifts for them. We're going to set up the room with the big round tables for everyone, and we're going to decorate. Whether you want to eat lunch or you just want to come to the meeting, it won't be set up like this. We'll have our new master gardeners up here where everybody can see them. We're not going to go into a long-winded introduction. We're just going to, Sherry's just going to introduce them all, and then we're going to move on with business. But we are going to be sitting at the round tables with tablecloths. You don't have to dress up. You can wear your blue jeans. And even if you don't want to eat lunch, that will be the way it'll be set up for everybody. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, next up, Linda Fleming. She's going to give us a quick update on the Detention Center Learning Greenhouse.
Hello, everyone. The Learning Greenhouse, I'm afraid, experienced a lot of damage because of the ice. And looking around town, we were not the only place that was damaged by the ice. So at this time, it's not safe for us to work in there. The support beams have all been crushed down to the work tables. So right now, what we're doing is gathering information about an estimate on reconstructing our learning greenhouse. So in the end, we'll bring our proposals to the membership, and you can vote if you want to fund reconstructing our learning greenhouse. At this time, we're not working in there, which means as far as providing plants for the plant sale, we have pulled out as many flats as we could that were started, and various people are tending those for us. And then the seeds that we had in the lobby, we were just asking people if you could plant some seeds for April, so we'll have a nice variety of seeds. So we'll be updating you on progress on our proposal for new construction, and we're hoping for the best. Any questions? You know you can't use that excuse too much longer, okay? Okay, so we know that through the Extension Office and University, there is an option, an outlet for donations. So when we come up with a cost for this, we'll let you know about that. Patty Tucker said that a donation has to be more than $250 to get a receipt from the university so that you can claim it on your income tax. But I'll take $100 or 50, whatever. I'll be out there with my bucket, and like on the street corners and everything. So yes, we will have information about that in the end. Yes.
Are we going to enlarge the greenhouse at all?
We would love to enlarge the greenhouse, but that means, we would have to pay for that. Okay, some of us have visited a new greenhouse that was put up in Saline County last year. It is 70 by 30. Our existing footprint is 25 by 55. So they have a marvelous new one over there. They had extra money they needed to get out of their treasury, they said, so it was easy to pay for that. Teresa, did you have one?
She brought up donations. If we go and give a donation through the state, it goes where the state wants it to go. Can we find a way to give it
So that it stays with us?
Okay, the information I have on donations from Patty Tucker, who is our local subject matter expert on almost everything. No offense there, that's good. We need some of those. She said that you would write a check made out to the University of Arkansas, is that right? Whatever. And in the notation, at the bottom, greenhouse reconstruction.
Garland.
Garland County, okay.
Garland County.
So they have a methodology for this, so when we get to that, we'll get more details and, hand it out, whatever. Donna? Linda?
Are we eligible for any of the emergency funding that's available through the state?
Beats the heck out of me.
I don't know how you go about.
No. We would go to Aaron and have him research that, or Patty Tucker, one of the other. Oh, the governor? I do not know about that. I would go to, you can go to Aaron, but I would go to Aaron and say, please research that for us. Daniel? Oh, the other one.
Yeah, Aaron.
The other one, Aaron. No, we're Daniel. If he would just show up here once in a while, I might remember. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't there a funding option for certain projects and it's issued by the extension?
I do not know.
It was posted in January.
County 76 had a project funding, they called it a scholarship for $1,000.
That was it.
We did not get that submitted in time. You can only have one submittal per county, and youth activities or somebody beat us to that. That current one.
Take it from the children.
Oh, I would hate to do that. Okay, any other questions? Right now, we're gathering information. We'll come up with a proposal and let you all vote on whether you will fund that or not.
Thanks, Linda. Yes.
Just a point of confusion for me. So on the March luncheon that Elaine talked about is our March 19th meeting,
Yes.
but that's also the Master Gardener.
Yes, I'm going to get to that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. We're going to touch on that down in the announcements. Okay. All right. Next up is the Plant Sale and Garden Show. All the pots and trays and plants and whatever else is left over. So I'm just wanting to plant a little seed. If you've got ideas around those two areas, we would love to hear them. Sign Up Genius for the plant sale is ready. It will be coming out tomorrow in Constant Contact. Again, if you're not receiving Constant Contact, you're not going to get it. So we need to know who is not receiving Constant Contact. And anyway, the plant sale sign up will be out tomorrow. Let's see. Oh, one last thing, and then I'll turn it to Susan. As you are propagating plants, and I hope you are at your home, because we're going to need extra since we're short on one greenhouse this year, please label them. We need the plant name, we need to know its color if it's a blooming plant, and we need to know what category it falls in. Sun annuals, shade perennials, succulent, whatever it is, needs to be, those three pieces of information need to be on your labels. And if they get out there to the greenhouse or to the plant sale without those things, then we guess. And who knows what's going to end up on your label. All right. So please label them as you're potting them up. Susan, plant sale.
Yes, she does.
Okay, so along with the plant sale, We're also gonna have a bake sale, and you should have gotten the handouts at the table out there for the bake sale guidelines. If you didn't get them, they're on the table where we sign in, so you can just grab one on the way up. I'm gonna be brief because I only have a few minutes to do this. The things that we can sell are breads, cookies, brownies, cakes. Buttercream frostings are okay. We could do candies, jams, jellies, and foods that are shelf-stable. Things that we cannot sell are cheesecakes, cream-filled cupcakes, frostings that have cream cheese or dairy, because you can't preserve it, except for butter's okay, or any food requiring hot or cold. Packaging, you guys are gonna have to do your own packaging, so you just wanna make it pretty, make a label for it. The requirements are that you have to put a label of what it is, and if it has a flavor, and then we're gonna have to have the recipe or a list of ingredients that we will keep in a folder, so if someone has allergies, they need to know what's in it, we can look it up in the folder. We'll do the pricing, you don't have to worry about pricing anything. On here there are some guidelines, suggested pricing guidelines. One thing I wanted to go over, I'm not gonna get in, we'll have more information as we get along. The pricing little stickers I'm gonna make are just gonna be like a stick-on label, so they'll be easy to do. But what I wanna ask you guys to do is, if you buy baked goods at the grocery store, to save these little clamshells, we can wash them and reuse them. Bring them to the next meeting and I'll have a bin set up where you could just throw them in so anybody that needs them can use them. They're very good to repurpose before they get recycled. Little things like that. You could do something just as simple as wrap it in saran wrap, put a little label, put a little ribbon on it, make it pretty. I would suggest you don't use colored baggies, these little snack bags. Food doesn't look really good in purple and blue bags. They just makes it look funny, so try to use clear baggies if you can. And then for presenting the stuff, you can get just simple, at the dollar store, trays for displaying or putting your goods on, wrap it up, put a label on it, what it is. That's all we need to do. And then we'll have the hospitality group will be running the booth, and this booth is going to be set up in building 5. When you walk in the door, there's like a little kitchen area there. We used to have refreshments for volunteers that hospitality did, but we can't do that anymore, but the area is perfect for setting up for the bake sale, so that's where we'll be. Hospitality will make sure that all the goods get put out, gets priced and all that. Okay, any questions? Okay, so everybody doesn't have to bake, but if you do buy stuff, bring these for us to reuse.
When do you want them?
Huh?
When do you want them? On the Friday?
Well, we'll have to probably get the details on, I think they'll probably bring the baked goods on the day that they bring their plants. I think that Friday before, between 1 and 3 or whatever. And you'll just take your plants in one and bring your baked goods over to the other side. And then we'll get them priced and we'll put them in bins overnight so that bugs or rodents don't get them before the next day. Yeah. Question?
Yes, I don't know if it has anything to do with the bake sale, but last year we had all of those other vendors. Are we gonna have those other vendors again?
Yes. We're gonna have vendors. We don't have a lot of vendors that do baking.
I'm not worried about the bake sale part, I'm worried about the plant sale part. Are they going to be allowed to sell the same plants that we are, again, like they did last year? Because a lot of them undercut us in price. So that I'm very interested.
We're currently looking for a new chair for Sow and Till. If anyone is interested, please see us. We do appreciate the fact that Elaine was going to do this for us. She is very talented, very artistic, and we really appreciate her efforts. But didn't work out this time, maybe next time. All right, Master Gardener Appreciation Day is March 19th. which is our next meeting date, next month. The gardens are going to be open at 9 a.m. If you sign up, and sign up has begun if you haven't noticed it. If you're not getting the state constant contact, you missed it. Sign up has started. They're limiting it to 500 people. So if you want to go, sign up on their sign up Genie. I don't know what they use. Anyway, that is the same day as our meeting. So what we are proposing is that anybody who wants to do the Master Gardener Appreciation Day, you've got all morning to do that. Then you come here for our lunch and our meeting in the afternoon. So we're hopeful that you'll be willing and open and able to do that so we get representation at both events. I saw a question somewhere.
That's something I need to pass on. I've contacted several people for the Master Garden plant sale. The constant contact's going out tomorrow, nobody's name is on it. So if you had told me you wanted to be over a food or run the tables or something in the plant sale building, building 6, that is blank. So would you please put your name where you told me you would? Thank you.
All right.
I changed my mind.
Any other questions about the Appreciation Day or the March meeting? All right, state conference, I think Annette, I mentioned that a little earlier. It's June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in Conway. The sign up has begun for that. Participation in County 76 silent auction project. This year's theme is pots and plants. The registration deadline is March 15th. If you want to create one of those pots and plants project to be submitted to them for their silent auction. March 15th is the sign up. It's not the day you have to have it ready. It's the day to sign up will close at that point. Any other announcements that I missed? Yes, Karen?
When James and Doc started training everyone, putting in the drip irrigation at the projects, and I got mine for my home. And then this year, last year, Lowe's stopped. They carried a different brand. And so none of the things work. But I have all the parts. So if any of the projects or anyone wants some, just things like idiot plugs and stuff like that, you can use it during my car.
What brand? Are yours Mr. Landscape then?
It's the first one.
Yeah, that's
I don't have a lot, but I have some, and I'm gonna throw it away.
If no one wants it, obviously.
Do you have all the drips in that, or the sprays, or what do you have?
Let's take this offline. You two can talk. We need to move on. One last thing, I've got a side note here that if you want a new picture for the roster, if you want a new picture for the roster, they will be taking those pictures out at the fairgrounds at the last day of New Master Gardener training, which will be March 5th. So if you want a new photo, please see if you can make your way out there on March 5th, and I think they're going to do it around lunchtime, so 11:30 to 12:30-ish. Anything else? Chairs.
Just leave the chairs alone, you don't have to do anything today.
Yay! All right, if there's nothing else, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Elaine.